And welcome back to the Daily Thunder podcast, after Christmas edition. I'm John Napier, publisher of Daily Thunder, and I'll be your host today. Alongside me is Daily Thunder beat writer Brandon Rabar. Brandon, how are you this day after Christmas?
I'm good. I had a great Christmas. How was your Christmas?
It was good. I ate too much, but I didn't have your typical Christmas dinner. I ate barbecue this year. What about you?
Oh, nice. We had the typical Christmas dinner, which is kind of like, Thanksgiving 2.0 in a way, just not quite as good. It was still good. Barbecue, I got to be honest though, sounds better.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty good way to spend Christmas eating barbecue. It's a place I'd never had before in Oklahoma City, so it was really good. Maybe I'll shout out. It's called Clark Crew. I think it's pretty popular. But it's the
Oh,
first time I've had
Clark
it.
Clark Crew is delicious. I can only afford it like once every 3 years, but man, that place is delicious.
Yeah, it was very good. So I rate my Christmas dinner an A plus. Well, you ready to get
Well,
into it?
I am. I am. I was gonna rate my Christmas dinner, but it would be below Clark Crew barbecue, so I don't want to do that to my mom and my wife.
I'm sure they put more effort into what my family did for the dinner, but effort counts for something. Um, and maybe that's a good place to start because, Thunder Magic, the Magic put up a pretty good effort. That should count for something, I guess. But there was a close first quarter. The Thunder then went on one of their signature runs to build a pretty big second quarter lead. And then Oklahoma City, in that run, went on a 15-0 break in the second quarter, ultimately took a 19-point lead into halftime. At that point, it sure seemed like the Thunder would make easy work of the Magic, but that wasn't the case. After scoring the first 4 points of the third quarter, they took a 25-point lead, and then the Thunder didn't score for another 5 minutes and 51 seconds. What happened there?
That was one of the weirdest games of the season. That because it did look like it was going to be a blowout. The Magic don't have Paulo and they don't have Franz Wagner, obviously. I will say, though, they've been really competitive despite their injuries. They've beaten some good teams without those two guys. Jalen Suggs got hurt in the middle of this Thunder game. So, they were down a bunch of their best guys. They just fight. They compete. I think it was one of those classic cases. The Thunder, just coming off the NBA Cup championship, the travel, the schedule was a little bit weird. And you get up by so much on a team without their best guys, and it's the first night of a back-to-back. So this Thunder team doesn't typically, take an opponent lightly, and I don't think that they did. They obviously took them seriously. They got out to that big lead, but once they got out to that big lead, I do think that they took the foot off the pedal a little bit. The Magic were fighting hard. They were at home. So I think it was just some of that. And then missing shots. I think they started settling for too many jumpers, too many threes when they were up by so many points. And the Magic weren't. They were still attacking. So I think that kind of explained what happened there.
And with these recaps, I'm going to do something a little bit different, or we're going to create a new segment of asking two questions. What went right and what went wrong? So what do you think went right for the Thunder against the Magic?
I think what went right was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He ended up having 35 points that game. I'm trying to remember his exact line. I think he had 6-4 and then 2-4. I'm sorry, 6-4. Yeah, and 2-4. He had 2 blocks, 4 steals, so a lot of stocks. 6 total stocks, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 35 points on 15 of 26 shooting. So to me, it was like a combination of getting that huge lead, so you had a cushion to work with, and Shai being Shai. And then I also thought that was a really good Alex Caruso night. He had 11 points, 3 of 7 shooting. It was nice to see some of those threes fall. J-Dub didn't have his typical, 20, 25-point night. He was only 11 points, 5 of 15 from the field, but he made up for it the next night.
Yeah, well, what went wrong against the Magic?
I really think what went wrong was just kind of taking the pedal off the gas, knowing that you have a back-to-back the next night, coming off that, weird schedule and travel. They just traveled 2,000 miles. They had 1 day of rest after being in Vegas for a week. I think that they just thought they had the game in hand. And so they took things a little bit easy once they got up by by so much there in that third quarter.
Well, I also looking at the box score. AJ Mitchell played 9 minutes. He had the fewest minutes of anybody who got some run against the Magic. He had been a pretty consistent rotational player. Do you think there was anything in the matchups where AJ played less minutes this game than maybe some of the other games we saw this week?
It was odd. The only thing I can think of is maybe, when you're dealing with back to backs, sometimes minutes and rotations get screwy, and sometimes things kind of get away from you. I think as a coach, when you're watching those minutes, and maybe they're trying to make sure that not all their guys were playing 30 minutes, and then it got close, and then you end up having to play like, okay, well, we were going to give AJ more run here, but this game is getting a little bit close, so J-Dub get back in there, Shea get back in there, Lou get back in there. That's the only thing. It was also a weird night because Aaron Wiggins played 31 minutes that night, and we had seen his minutes had been down recently. Then he all of a sudden had more minutes that night, and Wiggs was pretty solid that night. He had actually a team best plus 15 in the plus minus. He had 11 points. He was 3 of 7 from the field and 2 of 3 from 3. So Wiggins kind of got AJ minutes that night.
Let's move on to the game against the Heat. For the first time in what seems like forever, the Thunder shot really well from three as a team. They were 14 of 34 for 41%. The starters alone shot 52% from three. And yet, Oklahoma City needed J-Dub scoring a season-high 33 to put this one away. And Oklahoma City actually trailed with 7:25 to go in the third. Let's start with what went wrong against the Heat. Now, I know they're a pretty solid team, and it's not like they get blown out a lot, but the Thunder are clearly the better team here. So something went wrong despite the really good shooting night.
Yeah, I think what went wrong was Tyler Hero went off. Tyler Hero had 28 points. And then also for the Thunder, Shea didn't have his typical night. It's so funny. You get kind of spoiled by Shea. He has 25 points, but it was on 10 of 25 shooting. So Shea didn't have his typical night. And then, basically if Tyler Hero is matching Shea kind of shot for shot, then, you're going to need other guys to step up. And that's where we'll get into the what went right. But I think what went wrong was, basically SGA and Tyler Hero canceling each other out. And that's not typically going to happen. Like Tyler Hero played really, really well. Shea didn't have his typical Shea game.
So what went right then?
Bounce back big from the night before where, we mentioned he was 5 of 15, only 11 points. Tonight against the Heat, he was 33 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He was 12 of 25 from the field. So, not incredibly efficient, but he was 4 of 7 from 3. He got some free throws, and I just thought that his play and the buckets he was hitting when he was hitting them were important if you're watching the game and just kind of seeing the flow and context of the game. So while he wasn't, that much more efficient from the field than Shea, he actually took quite a few more free throws than Shea did, and he hit those three-pointers, so he ended up being quite a bit more efficient.
If I can add something, I think something else that stood out to me and made it a closer game is the Thunder thrive off creating turnovers, and in particular, they steal the ball a lot. They consistently actually get more steals than turnovers. And this game was one of the rare situations where that didn't happen. They had 14 turnovers and only 8 steals. So the Heat really did a good job of protecting the ball, at least in the live ball turnovers. They ended up having 18 turnovers. So it wasn't like they didn't turn the ball over. But Oklahoma City wasn't creating the kind of havoc they typically do with the steals and then creating the easy transition buckets. And that might have, I think, led to a closer game.
No, you're absolutely right, because they really do, like you said, thrive off of creating chaos, creating turnovers that leads to so many easy fast break points. And when you can get those, it's like the most efficient field goal you can make is when you create a turnover and get a steal and go down the other end and get an easy bucket. You're right. The Heat actually had one more steal than the Thunder did. They had 9 steals to the Thunder's 8 steals. That is so bizarre for this Thunder team. We never see that. I'd actually be curious to see, go through their entire game log and see how many times the opponent has had more steals than the Thunder. That is a very rare occurrence for this Thunder team this year.
Yeah, and I don't have the number offhand, but they do lead the league. The Thunder do in steals. They force 12.2 per game. So just forcing 8 steals was an aberration versus what they typically do. Well, let's move on to the game that everybody was waiting for. against the Wizards. No one really knew how this would shake out. Or actually, no, I'm being sarcastic because we joked a lot last week about the Wizards and their really historically bad start to the season. At the time we talked, they had won just 3 games, but they did get their fourth win of the season um, coming into this one. But there's almost no world where the Wizards could expect to beat the Thunder. And
No,
yet,
I
with two
agree.
minutes, go
Yeah.
ahead, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I thought you were done. No, no, no.
Oh, yeah, there was a pregnant pause there because with 2:48 to go in the third, the Thunder clung to just an 88-87 lead. So what the heck, Brandon?
Yeah, I think this is just a hat tip to the Wizards. I think they saw that 18-point betting line, took it personally. They knew nobody was giving them a shot. Like, not only are the Wizards, the worst team in the NBA this season, but they were down Bilal Coulibaly. They were down Alex Sarr. So they're also, I mean, they didn't have they didn't have Kyle Kuzma. So not only are they bad this season, they were missing a lot of their best players. Also, okay, so yes, credit to the Wizards. They were playing hard. They were fighting. Also, the other end of that, the Thunder just had this, 3 games and 4 nights, and then, 1 day break, and then another 2-day break. So they finally got some rest and are at home. But they had this funky, weird travel schedule with the whole NBA Cup thing. All that said, a lot of the reason this got really funky was Jordan Poole. He went for 31 points, 5 of 12 from 3. But if you watch the game, some of the shots he was hitting, like he was handed a grenade by, I think it was Malcolm Brogdon, if I remember right. It could have been somebody else, but I think it was Brogdon. There was like 3 seconds left on the shot clock. He finds Jordan Poole near half court. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, this was not a logo shot. This was nearly a half court shot with like 2 seconds left. Cason Wallace is draped all over him, hand in his face, shot clock buzzer, half court 3. He drains it. Like, that was kind of like Jordan Poole's night. He was hitting some crazy, absurd shots. So, yes, I think credit to the Wizards for their fight. I think the Thunder were kind of like, hey, this is the Wizards without their best players. Our fourth game in 7 nights in 4 different cities, and then Jordan Poole. So I think it was a weird combination of things that made this a much closer game than anybody anticipated for at least, for the first 3 quarters. And then the Thunder took control.
The Thunder got a lift from someone returning from injury as Jay Will logged his first minutes of the game, checked in, and immediately hit a three. What was it like watching Jay Will check in and the ovation that he got in the arena?
That was a really, really cool moment. I got to say, like, Thunder fans absolutely love Jay Will. And that was, it's already obvious. We already know how much Thunder fans care for Jalen Williams, Jay Will. But if you had any doubts, if you were in the Paycom Center that night, like the ovation, and this was a standing ovation. It was a standing ovation. It started when he started walking, to check in. So it was before he was actually announced as being checked in. He was just walking. The applause started. It continued. And then once he actually checked in and was announced, it got even louder. It was incredibly loud. And then just moments after he checked in, he takes his first shot. It's a 3, and he hits the 3. It got insanely loud once again. And then second half, garbage time minutes, he checks in again because he didn't play most of the second half, probably because it was a closer game. It was his first game back. But when he checks in for the second time, he got another ovation, another loud ovation, which I don't remember ever seeing. Like, usually ovations are your first time checking in, and then you check in the second half. It doesn't, you get like a mild clap. But he got another huge ovation. So really, really cool moment to see how much Thunder fans care for Jay Will.
And credit to the Thunder fans too, because this is a fan base that really loves their role players. Now, of course, SGA and J-Dub and Chet are going to get a lot of love because they're the stars of this team. But if you're the kind of player that goes to work every day, works hard, and does the little things, the fans know who you are and they know what you do for the team. And Jay Will is exactly that guy. I mean, drawing charges and doing the little things. He's, ingrained himself as a fan favorite. And of course, his smile can light up a room. But I think that's something special about this fan base is that they really recognize the role players who do the little things.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Like Jay Will is kind of like this team's Nick Collison as far as that role goes. Like, Nick Collison, he was a fan favorite for all those reasons you just said. And Jay Will, a fan favorite for all those reasons as well. Plus that smile. I think that smile is a part of the equation as well. It's just so infectious, and like knowing like what he means to the team, like locker room and chemistry, seeing him, like leading the bench mob and all those celebrations. Yeah, he's just like he's such a fun, good dude. And then like you said on the court, he does all the little things.
Well, the Thunder did end up winning by 18. They covered this point spread. I think it closed at 17 and a half. So I guess some things went right. So tell me, Brandon, what went right this game?
I guess the fourth quarter, because it was, it was a close game before that, and then the talent just won out. Like, again, credit to the Wizards. I thought they played really well, but the Thunder just kind of steamrolled them with talent in the fourth quarter. And Shea, 41 points. 3 of 6 from 3 for Shea, 14 of 25 from the field, 10 of 10 from the free throw line, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks. Only player in either Thunder or Sonics history. We don't really recognize Sonics history typically, but if it makes your stats look better, we're going to say it. Only player in Thunder or Sonics franchise history to hit all those numbers in a single game. Shea was outstanding in this game against the Wizards, and especially in the fourth quarter. Third and
So
fourth quarter.
what went wrong? Why was the game so close for so long?
I mean, I really just think it was a combination of Jordan Poole, catching fire, and the Thunder. Look, the Thunder always take the 0-0 mindset. Every team has talent. We take them all seriously. And I do think that they took the team seriously. But I do think that when you're playing your fourth game in 7 nights in 4 different cities, and it's the Wizards without their best players, you kind of go through the motions a little bit, and you're a little, road weary and tired. I think they got that energy boost in the fourth quarter when they realized they needed to. But I think that there was some, a little bit of, hey, this is the Wizards, we should win this game.
Well, and the shooting was bad again. I mean, the Thunder's 3-point shooting percentage continues to get worse. So they've kind of gone from middle in the league to bottom third in the league, and they shot just 26%. And seemed like there was a pretty big part of the game where they were taking lots of threes and could not find the bucket in any way, shape, or form. And it's been consistent. We've talked about shooting almost every episode because it really is surprising that the Thunder aren't hitting at a higher percentage. They continue to take at a pretty high rate. They're one of the highest in the league as far as their 3-point attempts, but the percentage is not getting better. We're not really seeing that progression to where we would think they would be. And I'm kind of starting to wonder is like, this team just isn't going to be an elite shooting team. They're going to shoot a lot of threes because that is how their offense is going to run. And they're trying to create space in the paint and in the lanes for SGA and J-Dub. And they're just going to have to win games without shooting 35, 40% from three. Do you agree with that? Or do you think we just need to keep waiting?
I think it's somewhere in the middle. Like you said, 10 of 38 from three against the Wizards, not a good mark. Then right before that against the Heat, they were over 40% from a team. I think we'll see kind of that shooting variance because the Thunder have a lot of good shooters. Besides Isaiah Joe, they don't have a 3-point high volume guy that's their job is to go in and shoot 3-pointers. Now, J-Dub is a very good 3-point shooter, and but there's nights where his volume isn't as high. Lou Dort has been a really good 3-point shooter, but like this night he goes 0 for 5 from 3. I do think that the 3-point shooting will get better. Here's what I would say. Last season they were number 1 in 3-point percentage. Obviously you add Caruso for Giddey, that should make your 3-point percentage better, right? Just like that straight swap. AJ Mitchell has actually been one of the best 3-point shooters on this team all season. He's over 40%. So adding him should theoretically help. So you've added 2 better 3-point shooters. You add Isaiah Hartenstein, not really affecting because he's not really taking threes. Now, Chet is not on the team. I do think that Chet's 3-point shooting and spacing, the outlet that he provides, I think that helps when he's on the floor. I think that Chet will help when he comes back. I do think that this team is better than they've shown so far this season, just based on the sample size. that we have going forward from before. But I don't think that they're the best 3-point shooting team in the league that we saw last season. So I think there was some drop off expected with the higher volume and just knowing that it's hard to repeat, as the best 3-point shooting team anyways. So I think it's somewhere in the middle. I don't think they're going to be the best in the league like they were last season, but I don't think they're going to continue to be, struggle this much from 3-point range. I think it'll get better. And if this team gets any better from 3-point range, that makes them so much more dangerous because they're already the best team in the West while they've been struggling from 3-point range.
Yeah, it's hard to be too frustrated with the shooting when the outcomes continue to be W's. It's really what you're trying to achieve. It's not about hitting a certain percentage shooting. So I don't think it's a whole lot to complain about, but and I think maybe it's a testament that the team can find ways to win, and that I think a lot of it is creating turnovers, forcing steals, and sort of overwhelming opponents with runs like they often have. The other thing I want to mention about this Wizards game, and I think something that went really right, was AJ Mitchell. He's been mentioned several times here on this episode, and I mean his play demands minutes. So that's why the 9 minutes against Orlando was so surprising, because he played 22, and a lot of it was kind of in that fourth quarter after the lead had stretched out well beyond the Wizards' reach. But he set a career high. He had a great game.
Yeah, he was the Thunder's second best player that night. Like, J-Dub had a solid game. Isaiah Hartenstein had a good game. But AJ Mitchell, 16 points, 12 rebounds. Like, how many second-round rookie two-way guards are getting 12 rebounds in a game? Like, that is wild to me. 16 and 12. He also had a steal and a block, 2 assists, 6 of 7 from the field, 2 of 3 from three-point range for AJ. And he's just such a smart player. He makes the right decision. Very mistake-free ball from a rookie for any player, much less a rookie. I thought that AJ was great. He was a plus 20 on the night. I don't think anybody expected AJ Mitchell being drafted in the second round. I know a lot of draft experts had a late first-round grade on him. I think that he was better than the draft selection where he was taken, but nobody expected this. For him to jump into a contender's rotation from the jump, be in the rotation every single night, and then see nights like this where he pops off for 16 and 12. I think a big testament to like the Thunder scouting department, and then AJ Mitchell himself. And hey, shout out to small schools and older rookies who continue to get overlooked and continue to prove that they can play. Just because they're older and went to a small school doesn't mean they should necessarily drop to the second round.
Well, are the Knicks one day going to look at the trade between them and the Thunder for AJ Mitchell in the second round as one of the biggest blunders in NBA draft history?
Yeah, like if I was the Knicks, I'd still be far more worried about kicking myself for sending the Thunder the 11th pick in the 2022 draft instead of just taking J-Dub myself. That's what I would be upset about if I was Knicks fans. But this is just extra salt in the wound. It's crazy. The Thunder made so many trades just to get AJ Mitchell. They traded into the second round. Then they traded up into the second round. And then they traded up again into the second round just to get AJ Mitchell. So they were obviously targeting. He was very important to this team, and we can see why.
Props to AJ for setting a career high. Well, with that win, the Thunder are off to a 23-5 start, which is a 67-win pace, which even exceeds even your most optimistic predictions after Chet went down with his injury. By comparison's sake, this start is much better than Oklahoma City's 19-9 start after 28 games last season. And that team, of course, got the number one seed, though lost in the second round to the Mavs in the playoffs. And it ties the best 28 game start for the franchise in Oklahoma City. In the 2013-2014 season, the Thunder also started 23-5, went on to win the Northwest Division, but finished second in the West. But that season is the one season in which the Thunder advanced to the NBA Finals. So the Thunder have some tough games ahead. January, I think, is a tough month. But this team has the 11th easiest schedule from here on out. So, first question, could this version of the Thunder beat the franchise record of 60 wins, which was the 2012-2013 season? Is 67 wins a possibility? And is it fair to compare this team to that NBA Finals team?
Yes, they can beat the franchise record for most wins in a season. I do believe that, even with Chet being on the shelf until around guessing here All-Star break. They've been that good, that dominant. I do believe they can. Also, side note, it's really surprising that that's the franchise. I knew that it was, but when you look at all those great teams, those contending teams, surprising 60 wins is the franchise best. But I do think this team can match or beat that. Second question, is 67 wins a realistic possibility? I would say it's a possibility. I would not expect 67 wins. Like, so much has to go right for any team to get 67 wins. When you look at the history of the NBA and all the great teams and all the dominant teams and see how many teams have won 67 or more, the list is very incredibly short. There's still going to be nights where, a team gets really hot, the Thunder are not hot at all. There's going to be more losses on the way. That said, I do think it's a possibility. This team plays hard every night. This team is incredibly talented. They are separating themselves at the moment, in the West. Their cushion continues to get bigger, and they will get Chet back at some point and be whole. And when this team is completely whole, they could be incredibly dominant. And knowing that they have the 11th easiest schedule remaining in the league, you could really rack up a bunch of wins. So I would not expect 67 wins, but I would not rule out the possibility.
And would you compare this team favorably to the team that went to the finals?
That's right. Yes, I would. If this team gets Chet Holmgren back and he looks like himself and they are healthy going into the playoffs, this team can win a title. Absolutely. 100%. They can easily get to the finals. They're the best team in the West. And then in the finals, you're probably playing either the Celtics, Cavs, or maybe the Bucks in the finals. And I think this team, if healthy, is as talented or more talented than any team in the NBA. So yes, I do think that it is fair to compare this team, I think, to the finals team. We have enough of a sample size, given last year was a 57-win team and you added Caruso and Hartenstein, and given the pace that they're winning at this season right now, and knowing that Chet Holmgren is scheduled to come back at some point this season.
Well, let's talk about some news and notes around the Thunder. First, Alex Caruso got his much anticipated extension, 4 years, $81 million. How do you grade that transaction?
I give it an A. Alex Caruso is an elite role player that every contender would want on their team. He can be a guy that plays on this Thunder team 20, 25 minutes a night, come in, cause chaos, create turnovers. I still believe in his three-point shot. I think it's going to be a weapon going forward for the Thunder. The only question mark about Alex Caruso is his age. He's 30 right now. He turns 31, I believe, in February, if I remember right. And, he does have some injury history because he plays so hard, like we already saw. He's out against the Pacers. It's that hip strain again. So we'll see how long he's out there. The Thunder are typically very cautious and conservative with those things. So a little bit of injury history and age. But I think, nowadays, guys playing till, really, really good elite basketball until they're 34, 35 is becoming more and more normal. So knowing Alex Caruso and his work ethic and how hard he works at his craft, I believe that this will be a very valuable contract for the Thunder moving forward. You make this Josh Giddey trade, you don't do it for a rental. You do it to have a great role player like Alex Caruso to be a part of your core for the next 4 years going forward.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think it shows the kinds of things that the Thunder value, because he's not the kind of guy who's going to score 15 points a night, but he does the little things. He is a really smart basketball player, and I think an indication of what he does for the team is like he did against the Wizards. He scored 2 points, but he was a plus 22 in the box score. And his impact on the game doesn't show up in points. And it's usually the guys who are scoring 15, 17, 18 points that are getting those kinds of contracts, not the guys who, go 0 of 2 from 3, 1 of 5 from the field, score 2 points, but end up a plus 22. So That's sort of the vision that Presti has for the team. But you mentioned the injury history. Yeah, I mean, he plays so hard, and he's yet again out with a hip injury. And I think looking back on the deal, you're going to hope that you get him for more games than we've seen him so far this season, a higher percentage of those games, because you want him out there 20 minutes as many nights as you possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as like the money itself, I think $20 million a year for Alex Caruso, like coming off of first team and second team all defensive teams back to back years, and coming off a year in which he shot 40% from three, and seeing the impact he's already had on this Thunder team in a limited sample size, $20 million a year, especially going forward with the cap and all those things. I think it's a great deal for both the Thunder and Caruso. I think it makes total sense. And the thing is, you got this Thunder team, intact for several years. Like, so you're going to be able to pay all your guys. And so to be able to add Caruso for 4 more years and the defense he brings to go alongside those years, like this window is very open for the Thunder. They've managed their books really, really well.
Well, you mentioned that this team can stay together for years to come. There have been some recent trade rumors involving Cam Johnson of the Brooklyn Nets. I'll first ask, do you give any credibility to these rumors?
I mean, it makes sense. I think we all realize that it does make sense. And the Thunder obviously had the draft capital and the young assets to get it done. That said, this time of year, and especially with the Thunder being the best in the West and having all of these draft assets, and everybody knows that, it's real easy to just kind of throw their name into any sort of trade conversation because people are going to buy it. Here's what I would say, though. I actually asked Sam Presti in his preseason presser about, the Gordon Hayward trade last year, and that would affect kind of his, thoughts going forward on midseason trades. And he said, basically, the 2 big acquisitions they made in the offseason, Caruso and Hartenstein, were their big acquisitions for the year. Now, he said that he would still open himself to, anything that came up as a possibility. So he's not going to limit himself to just that. But his mindset is kind of seeing what happened with Hayward last year and how all that went down, and the chemistry of the team, and trying to implement, a volume, score like that into this team when they were already rolling along so well. He doesn't know if he wants to do that going forward. That said, Cam Johnson would make a lot of sense on this team. So I think it makes sense, and I think it'd be really good on this team. He's a big body that can shoot high volume threes. He's done it for his whole career. I think the fit would be really, really nice.
Yeah, he's having a great year. He's averaging 19 points per game, shooting over 42% from three. He's a solid free throw shooter. So, and he's going to command, I think, a pretty big haul in order to get him in any kind of trade. If you're to play mock trade with the Nets here, what do you think a deal might look like for the Thunder to get Cam Johnson?
So you would obviously have to, throw some salary that way. So if you're throwing salary, first of all, there's certain guys that are untouchable, obviously. Like, I won't even mention some of the names, but Lou Dort also is not going back in any sort of trade. Lou Dort is on this team going for it, so that's off the table. So if you're looking at salaries, you're looking at, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, Kenrich Williams. I think that Isaiah Joe, the minutes that he plays and the impact that he makes as a shooter, I think he would stay. I think Kenrich Williams and his value contract, seeing how well he plays this season, he's back to the Kenny Hustle elite role player days of the last few years. If you're going to pick one of these, I'm not saying, do this or anything like that. But if you have to do this, Aaron Wiggins, given the role, the minutes that we see Aaron Wiggins play, maybe it would be Aaron Wiggins, Ousmane Dieng, and 2 firsts. If I'm just doing pretend trade machine GM, it would be something like that: Wiggins, Us, and 2 firsts.
And if you're Sam Presti and that's offered to you, do you take it?
Look, I do believe in the chemistry of this Thunder team, and I do believe in the locker room, and I do believe that is valuable And I do believe Aaron Wiggins is a really, really nice role player. There's a reason, the Save Basketball meme exists, and there's a reason why when that deal was done that everybody was so excited. So I think that Aaron Wiggins going forward has a role on this team and a valuable role on this team. Cam Johnson is a really good player, and the fit makes sense. He could start next to Hartenstein for now. Could start next to Chet. 6'8", 42% three-point shooter, does a lot of little things. So I do think that Cam Johnson, would be really good on this team. Did you like how I straddled that?
That was a non-answer. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
you like that?
That was a non-answer.
Well, I see both sides.
So Thunder win no matter what, right? They either make this trade and they get Cam Johnson, or they don't make the trade and all the chemistry is preserved. There is a no-lose situation here.
Right, exactly.
Based on the theoretical trade we have. Yeah. Okay.
And I'll do one last thing. As far as the picks go, the Thunder have so many picks of varying value. Like, you could give up like that Miami Heat pick. You could give up that Utah pick, which obviously carries not as much value now because that might not convey. You could give up that 76ers pick, which looks juicy, but may end up not being as juicy depending on what the 76ers do going forward. You got those Denver picks. I wouldn't give up like a Rockets or Clippers pick, maybe a Rockets pick. I wouldn't give up a Clippers pick going forward because who knows what their future holds. So I would not give up any Clippers picks. I would say that. And I would try not to give up any of those future Denver picks because they're so lightly protected and who knows what's going to happen with Denver in a few years. So hands off the Clippers and Nuggets picks.
Well, let's look at the next 4 games. We're going to go a little bit lightning round here because I want to get to the game that I have for you. Let's start with tonight's game against the Pacers. Indiana's won 5 straight, including some decent wins over the Warriors, Suns, and Kings. And the Thunder are going to be without Caruso tonight. So Oklahoma City's 8-game win streak versus Indiana's 5-game win streak. Whose win streak ends tonight?
I think Indiana's ends tonight. I think this is going to be a good close game, though. Like you said, Indiana's been playing really, really well lately, and they played really well at home all season. The Thunder without Caruso. And I think this is a good close game that could honestly go either way. But I think in the end, Shea, J-Dub, and Hartenstein, I think that they find a way to continue the win streak. But credit to Indiana. Like, they kind of got a lot of flack at the beginning of the season, but they're starting to figure things out. Unfortunately for the Thunder, they're getting them right in the middle of them figuring things out and playing much better.
All right. So we're going to chalk that one to the Thunder winning the 9th straight. Then the team goes to Charlotte next. They're the opposite of the Pacers. They're riding a 5-game losing streak. So if there is any intrigue, the Thunder is going to be playing against a favorite Thunder player, Taj Gibson, right? The Hornets also have Micic and Trey Mann, but Mann's injured, and that's kind of disappointing that the Thunder won't get to play against Mann, who's having a pretty nice season in Charlotte. He's averaging a career high in points so far. Is the Thunder or the Hornets any threat to end the Thunder's now 9-game win streak, assuming that you're right about tonight's game?
No, I don't think so. Like, obviously, NBA, any given night, especially on the road, but, especially Brandon Miller may or may not be available for that game. Like you said, Trey Mann is out, so they're losing some firepower right now. No, I'd expect that to be a Thunder win. And it is a bummer. Trey is hurt right now. He was having such a good season. He was in like 6th man of the year conversations, but he's been hurt for a few weeks now. So hopefully he comes back soon. But no, I expect a Thunder win against the Hornets for sure. And a part of this is, I see a 10-game win streak in this team, and that would put them at 10 wins. So I think that they get to the 10-win streak.
All right. Well, the 10-game win streak is on the line on Sunday against the Grizzlies. First, this is kind of a travesty. This game's not on national television. The Grizzlies arguably now are the second best team in the West. They started 8-7. They're 12-3 since. They've been smoking teams left and right. And since November 20th, Memphis is the highest scoring team in the league. They're averaging nearly 123 points per game. So this will be a test for the Thunder's number 1 defense. What do you think happens in this game, Brandon?
Yeah, so it's also the second night of a back-to-back for the Thunder. So I think now the Thunder are undefeated this season on back-to-backs, which is pretty impressive. I believe they're 5-0 now on back-to-backs. But It's hard to see any team going undefeated for a whole season on back-to-backs. And if you're playing, the Grizzlies on a back-to-back, I would pick that as, the Thunder got to lose eventually. So I think they win 10 games in a row, and then that comes to an end against the Grizzlies. If I got to pick a loss, it'll be to the Grizzlies on the second night of a back-to-back.
And then,
that said, let me say this. That's going to be a great game. Like, regardless, like, who wins, I think that's going to be a really hyped up, fun game, being the top two teams in the West. And I don't know if you pay attention at all to like Chris Vernon and the Grind City Media like podcast, but they've been like dogging the Thunder and saying that, like they're basically like Grizzlies light and taking all the hype and acclaim that the Grizzlies should be getting. So the results of that game, one way or another, is going to get a response from Verno and the Grizzlies media that I'm really looking forward to.
Well, then on Tuesday, the Thunder play the Wolves. I wouldn't say the Wolves are a bad team, but they've been pretty inconsistent and not able to string together wins. They currently have lost 3 of their last 4. Are they a threat to steal one in Oklahoma City?
I think they're a threat, but the way they're playing right now and the way the Thunder's playing right now, and they just have not figured things out. Like, and they repeatedly are asked about it, like, what's going on? How come the offense is struggling? And they just don't have the answers. Obviously, I think losing Karl Anthony Towns was a big deal. You try to replace it with Julius Randle and DiVincenzo, and the chemistry is not the same. And their offense, their spacing, and all those things, the dynamics of this team are not the same without Cat, and they're feeling the effects of that. This does not look like the Timberwolves of last year. And I kept thinking that they will get it figured out. Like, okay, they've got too much talent. They're going to figure it out. They're going to be better. And here they are at 500, like 30 games into the season. And things don't seem to be getting better. So, no, I expect the Thunder to win that game. The Thunder have a great history on New Year's Eve, like winning games, playing at home, hyped game. So I think the Thunder win that game.
So that sort of anticipates a 3-1 week for the Thunder. Well, I guess I'll put you on the spot here. The Thunder have to lose one of those games. Which one would you like for them to lose if you had to pick one?
Which one would I like for them? Like if I could choose a loss?
Yep.
Oh, man. I guess I would choose the Hornets just because they're, the Thunder's, JV team anyways, because they had so many ex-Thunder players on it anyways. Now they're not going to be playing, unfortunately. But more than anything, the Thunder could end up needing tiebreakers against the Grizzlies in the West. And then, if the Wolves figure things out, plus the rivalry that we saw last year between the Wolves and the Thunder, and it's a West game. So for sure, I would pick the Thunder to win the Wolves and Grizzlies game. So it just basically comes down to the Pacers and Hornets, and why not give the Hornets a win?
So you are sacrificing the 10-game win streak to get wins over the Grizzlies and Wolves.
That was my only issue. I didn't want to mess up the 10-game win streak, but I can't give a win to the Grizzlies or Wolves. So, Sorry, 10-game win streak. My bad.
No, I definitely agree with that choice there. I'd much rather win against the Grizzlies and the Wolves. Well, to close this out, let's play a game. As I noted, today is the day after Christmas. So, Brandon, Santa has fallen off of your roof, and now you're forced to become Santa Claus. I think that would be a good premise for a movie or something, but that aside, many Thunder players have yet to receive their gifts because Santa was halfway through his Oklahoma City trip. You're now the big man in the red suit, and you get to decide who's been naughty, who's been nice, and what everyone gets for Christmas. So using your new powers as Santa, let me first ask you, who is at the top of your nice list?
The top of the nice list has to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's been nice on the court. He's been nice leading this team. He's been nice off the court and what he does in the community and he says and does all the right things that you want your leader and best player on the team to do. So he leads the nice list.
And who are you going to put at the top of your naughty list?
That's hard on this Thunder team. Quite honestly, it's really tough to pick a player on the naughty list on this Thunder team. But if I had to choose, I guess I would go with Lou Dort because he's out here getting technical fouls right and left. Man, what is up with Lou? I mean, yeah, they're getting rescinded, but at some point he's being just naughty enough for the refs to give him a tech. I mean, that 3-point gesture he did, no. Maybe old Santa let those things slide, but not new Santa.
All right, well, now you get to bestow some gifts. I'm going to give you some rules, though. You can gift any tangible object, or you can grant a new basketball skill. But this isn't Fantasyland, so Santa can't use his powers to turn a 25% three-point shooter into a 100% three-point shooter. So you get to deliver some gifts to some different Thunder players this year. First, SGA, what gift are you taking to SGA's house this year?
Man, this is such a fun question. I would bring SGA the gift of being able to get a good night's sleep because he's a new dad. And I think that as long as SGA is well rested and fully functioning, he is going to be the dominant MVP candidate that we expect him to be. The only thing that could slow him down is a baby waking up at 3 a.m. and, having to go in and change those diapers and getting him back to sleep. And then you put him back into his bed. And as soon as you lay him back down, he wakes back up and starts crying again. And then all of a sudden, 3 hours of sleep got away from you. And he's sluggish against the Wizards. So I will bestow upon Shea good night's sleep every night for the rest of the season.
Spoken like a dad.
Yeah.
J-Dub, what are you taking to J-Dub's house this year?
The ability to get free throws. That is it. That is, if J-Dub could get, 6 to 8 free throws per game, that would take his efficiency to another level. It would take his, his scoring average up a couple of points. And I think that the all-star selection would be right there for the taking if he could get to the free throw line a few more times per game. So the ability to get to the free throw line.
Well, that borders just on the edge of Fantasyland, but I'll give you that one.
Yeah, this is more like basically manipulating the refs into, better vision, basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of gifts that to be given to some players or people outside of J-Dub. So let's move on to the player that you very, very nearly traded to the Nets, Aaron Wiggins. What is Wiggins getting for Christmas?
A no trade clause.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so you can throw away all your trade machine ideas. He's not going anywhere. There you go. I got you.
Alex Caruso.
Alex Caruso. Oh, I don't know how Fantasyland it is, but can we turn the injuries off? A new hip?
Yes.
Like, is he too young to get a new hip?
Santa can deliver him a new hip.
Okay.
All
okay.
Right.
Like maybe
Caruso's getting a hip.
Like maybe like an Iron Man type hip, like something like that.
Yeah, but that means that you can't give Chet a new hip, so tough call.
That's true. Oh man. Okay, sorry, Alex. We're gonna have to give you a new headband instead. Chet's getting the hip.
What about Isaiah Hartenstein? What gifts is he getting this year?
Isaiah Hartenstein, I would give the gift. Honestly, just the green light to shoot threes. I want to see Hart shooting threes. I think he's got it in him. He's not doing it in any games. Like, he's only taken a handful of threes all season. It's something he showed a little flash with the Clippers. This team loves to play 5 out. And I think it would, the minutes that he's on the floor, if he had that green light to shoot threes, I think he might surprise some people. I could be totally off base. I'm sure the Thunder know what they're doing. I mean, they let Josh Giddey shoot, multiple threes per game last season. So I'm sure they know way more than I do. But I just like to see it. I just like to see him shoot, like 5 threes in a game just to see what happened.
Yeah, well, and teams are dropping off of Hart when he has the ball at the top of the key. So if he shot some, I think it might open some things up. It's not the worst idea in the world. And you're Santa, so now he's shooting some more threes. Well, you're running out of time to deliver some gifts, though. You can pick one more Thunder-related person, player, coach, fan to deliver a gift to. Who are you taking a gift to, and what are you taking them?
Look, I know he's at the top of the naughty list, but Lou Dort and his mallet finger, I feel bad for the guy. He's out there shooting with two fingers taped together, and this could go on for several more weeks. I would just like, to give him. I don't know if there's some sort of elixir I could give him or something to where mallet finger, goes away like overnight, like what I could do. But Lou, I think, has been one of the most underrated storylines of this Thunder season, and how well he's played on both sides of the ball. And, we've seen him struggle a little bit with the three-pointer in some games, kind of up and down lately. But before the mallet finger and having those two fingers taped together, he had been incredibly consistent and great from three all season long. So I'm gonna hook my man Lou up with I don't know if I'm not gonna say new fingers. He doesn't need new fingers, but some sort of elixir to help mallet finger.
Yeah, some kind of healing potion to speed along his recovery there.
Yes.
We'll give you that one. Well, thank you, Santa, for joining the podcast today. It's all the time we have. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm John Napier, host of the podcast, and he's Brandon Rabar, Daily Thunder beat writer. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe to the Daily Thunder podcast on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you like what you're hearing, do us a favor and leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. And we will be back in your feed soon.